Because whenever the Muslims have dropped the message, the Prophet ﷺ said in another hadith, if you leave my sunnah and prefer another sunnah over it, something else over my sunnah, I will have you divided until the end of time. All right, this is the punishment of someone who leaves the sunnah of the Prophet. That means you love another example over the sunnah of the Prophet. And what has our ummah declared by its actions? The love of nationalism over the sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So we are now cursed with division. And this is why you be very suspicious of anything that gets huge, because the curse of division is on this ummah, right? And you don't need to have proof. Just look. The curse of division is on the ummah. Why? Because we left the sunnah. And the proof of that is in our nations, right? Nobody is calling to do things the way the Prophet did it. Wallahi al-Azim, you will be laughed at. If you say, let us run our countries the way the Prophet ran his country, go stand in Pakistan, in Tunisia, in Egypt, and make an announcement to the family. We should say at the dinner table, the solution is to return to the way of Abu Bakr and Umar in how they ruled the land. You will just be laughed at. They will actually choke on their food. How much they're going to laugh at you, right? So when such a people are this way, well, what did the Prophet say? And what did the Quran say? The Quran said the Christians, once they corrupted their doctrine and they were no longer interested in the doctrine, Allah cursed them with division. What did the Prophet say? If you prefer a sunnah over myself, over my sunnah, you will be divided. So the sickness of the ummah is that we are cursed with division. That's why anyone who has this imagination, I'm going to come and bring the ummah together, it's a good intention, but you're ignorant. You should read what's going on. You can only do this when all of the Muslims have displayed objectively somehow a desire to elevate the sunnah over anything else. Yes, and he's the only one who can do it. We should hope for it, and we should keep working locally. Locally work with your family, with yourself, right? With your local community. This is accepted. This you can keep together in some way. But to have basically a unifying force will only be the Imam al-Mahdi. Will only be the Imam al-Mahdi. So some people, again, they make a mistake. If it's going to be Imam Mahdi, then I'll just sit home and be lazy. No. You can prepare for that by working in what you know from knowledge is going to work, and that is the local work. Furthermore, the Prophet in that other hadith said, if you break the laws of Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah sends an enemy that destroys you and takes your wealth and kicks you out of your homes. And that hadith says, if you break Allah's laws repeatedly without tawbah, He will send an enemy to take your homes and take your wealth. And then if you choose a sunnah over my sunnah, then Allah will curse you with division. And we're seeing this in both countries, basically, in both these things. I think that the Ummah has displayed a belief in nationalism, right? Nationalism is that your chief number one identity by which you make your laws is your place of birth. This was never the case in the times before 1924. 1924, your allegiance was by your deen. If I was born in, let's say, if I was born in Algeria, in Maghreb, and I went to the Istanbul and told them that, or let's say from before, I don't know the details of the end of Istanbul period, any time that you were a Muslim, you had the right to live in that country. There were no borders. These borders that you see between Egypt and Sudan, and then Arabia and Iraq and Syria, and all the little dot lines in Sham area, okay, that they have to zoom in to see how many lines there are. They never existed. All of this did not exist, right? Your allegiance was your deen. And think about this, what's more empowering? If I'm born in a country, I'm stuck to be from those people? What if I don't want to be of those people? But deen is by choice, right? It's by choice. So there we had converts from Europe. As soon as they entered Islam, they went to the Ottoman Empire. They lived there as citizens, as rightful citizens. So Because we have to make an objective statement. We can't make a statement based on whim. So what have the Muslims actually done? They've established nations and they've made laws based upon nationalism. So this is an objective fact. You have a passport. Your passport doesn't say, Darul Islam on it. It has a nationality. And you can be, Egypt is here and Sudan is here. The Sudanese, he takes 2 steps to visit his cousins in Egypt. He's an alien. Why? Who said that? Right? This is because the British and the French came and they fed the Muslims nationalism, this concept, and the Muslims too accepted it and guzzled it down. Guzzled it. Our people are not innocent. You converts, youth, you are not part of an innocent ummah. You are part of a guilty ummah. You have to understand that. Because many Muslims will lose confidence in Islam when they look at the state of the ummah. And then they'll get naive at the age of 20 or 25 and say, we need to fix the ummah. And they're fighting against something that you can't fix. Unfortunately, we are all cells in a body that has cancer. That's what we are. So if you're going to roam around the body, you might catch cancer. So you might as well just find a good little spot, stick to it. Right? Find a good little spot and stick to it. Right? And live and die in the service of those Muslims. Then if Allah says to you, why didn't you serve the ummah? You say, I did serve the ummah. Right? This is the ummah. Aren't you part of the ummah? Right? I don't need to go serve the ummah in Indonesia. Allah never said that. In fact, the rule, according to Imam al-Haddad in fiqh, is al-awla thumma al-awla, wal-aqrab thumma al-aqrab. So, who is the first person of the ummah that you have to help? Yourself. You're part of the ummah too. So you have to help yourself. Who's the next part of the ummah? Your parents, if they're Muslim. If not, you have to give them da'wah. Who's the next part of the ummah? Your spouse. Right? Who's the next part of the ummah? Your kids. And a person can be busy his whole life on these 3. And then the next person in the ummah, your neighbor and your local community, where you pray Jum'ah. Okay? So they say, where you sleep, where you pray Fajr or Isha, where you pray Jum'ah, and where you pray Eid. Right? This is the ummah. And then Hajj after that. But I'm telling you, you will be busy serving these 4 before you ever get to Hajj. In other words, caring for yourself and your immediate family, caring for your local neighborhood, your neighborhood mosque. Then it used to be that Jum'ah was not prayed in every neighborhood mosque. Even in still the Muslim world, there are neighborhood mosques and there are community mosques. The neighborhood mosque does not open for Jum'ah. It just opens for the 5 prayers. Then everyone goes to the big community mosque, right? Pray Jum'ah. Then even those, not all of them open for Eid. Eid is in a public grounds, okay? And you pray Eid there, okay? And you see the big community, right? Like you see people on Eid that you might see once a year, right? So this is the concern. This is the order of concern. Then you have Hajj. You see the entire Ummah at Hajj. And Hajj reflects, if you think about this, it gets worse and worse, right? The brothers and sisters at Fajr and Isha, they're at a level of Iman. You go to Jum'ah, it's another level, a little bit down, but at least they're at Jum'ah. You go to Eid, and you see people who do not even pray, but they'll come to Eid. Then you go to Hajj, and you see the condition of the Ummah at Hajj. And it just reflects. How do we judge? How can you judge? And not to judge the intentions of people, but to judge. You can stick it in the middle there, on that table there. You can judge basically a people, not the individuals. We don't judge the individuals. We don't know their states, but a people in general. You can judge them. How? By the first chapter of the book of law, of fiqh. What's the first chapter in fiqh? It's called tahara. Tahara, cleanliness. You can judge the Muslim state by the cleanliness of their situation. You go to Hajj, at least when I went to Hajj, you find habits you thought maybe just for the caveman or something. Habits, right? habits that are unbelievable. I don't know what the Saudis have done lately, right? But you can't fix people. People will have bad habits either way. You see things that, this is my ummah, subhanallah, this is a shame, right? It's sad. So